and hello everyone. Welcome back to ITBR Rewatches Smash. We're on episode 2, and we have Dr. Andrew Rimby here with us to be speaking about episode 2 of Smash. Andrew, what did you think about today's episode?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's called The Callback, and
Oh, yes.
I thought I was auditioning for this musical with how immersive everyone is in this episode. I'm like, am I on stage? Am I uh caught with my pants down? Because that's how I felt with all these characters. It's like is um everyone is basically putting themselves out there, but also stepping in the muck, like the mucky mess of the Broadway industry. Um, or maybe almost everyone. I don't know. I guess we'll have to go through it, but I definitely um felt exposed. I felt like I wasn't the emperor with no clothes. I was literally everyone calling me out and having my pants down around my ankles. So if that's a
Oh,
nice visual for
oh.
everyone out there, I don't know why my metaphor went there, but that's where my head is today.
My goodness. Yes, this episode was a lot. It had to do with it's a lot of musical numbers, which I'm happy about. And it deals with a lot of disappointments in this episode as well.
Yeah,
And I never noticed. Yep.
what you'll do to get to the top, I feel is a big theme
Yes.
in this episode.
Yes. A
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of these characters go through a lot of those. Well, one character in particular goes through that little moment. But we'll talk about her later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you were saying.
Yes, and while I was rewatching it, we still what I didn't realize is that we have a cold open of Catherine McPhee's Karen singing at a bar at this sort of jazz bar thing, and I never realized how the beginning and the end are the same, except it's two different characters singing two different songs, and it's
Mhm.
one character feeling as if they need to be recognized, and another character being recognized for a part
Mm.
that she got. With Karen,
That's
it's the
an
part that she wants,
Yeah.
and then with Ivy, it's the part that she gets. So it's.
Yeah, and one is a fantasy with Karen, and one is actual
Exactly.
reality. Like, because
Mm-hmm.
Karen is actually singing in the cafe that she works at, and then
Yep.
almost a la Waitress the musical is brought back to reality with that opening up in Waitress, like where there's all like the customers. That's the um after the prologue in Waitress, but it kind of
Was
reminded
Waitress
me.
on at
Yeah.
this time? No, it
Mm-mm.
wasn't. Was it even conceived back then?
I
No,
don't
it
think
was
so.
on. Okay.
Yeah, but
That's something to
maybe
think about.
someone from their creative team saw Karen in the
Maybe.
cafe, and they're like, "Oh, we should do
Everyone was
something
like,
about
huh, I
waitresses."
could make that into a musical. That looks interesting.
Karen, but right, Karen is really that stereotype of she's an actress who's at a like works as a waitress. And again, I don't even know, does Ivy work outside of no, she's working as a ensemble member for
Yep.
that
Mhm.
show where she is always in a glittery headdress, or I don't know, she makes a lot of
Yes.
she mocks the musical in this episode.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, so I loved the daydream. I do think though, I find it interesting the song choices that they do
Oh,
for
yes.
covers because I don't
It,
always I feel like it's a that to me is the product of the 20 like 2011 and 12s. It's the songs they cover because they're so at odds with the new Marilyn Monroe songs.
yep.
Right? Because what was Karen singing?
Oh my God. It
I'm trying to
was,
remember.
I need to,
I know we can look it up, but
it
um
was something like very like, was it country? It felt very like twangy-ish. I can't remember what the
I don't
song
think
was.
it was country. I think it was more like a pop rock, something from like a current hit. Which is why maybe it feels stuck in the like 2011s because it's not a hit that
Oh,
we still remember. But okay, so go ahead, Christian. I'll figure out the song she sings.
you go right ahead and you figure that out. But I wanted to ask if you remember seeing that many billboards for Phantom on a block. I when after that whole show montage moment, we get Karen and we get Ivy and her friends walking down the street in New York City, and I said to myself, I've never noticed that many billboards for Phantom when Phantom was running, and that was at the Majestic Theater. I said, "Whoa." I didn't notice that they had that many ad placements back then. I guess it takes one to know one because it's like, wow, we take a lot of things for granted on Broadway.
No, you're right. There was um what I like is they really show off Times Square and all the
They do.
Broadway marquees. Like
Mm.
because of the premise of putting on a Broadway musical, that they're really honing in on that aspect of Times Square, right? Because there's also so many advertisers. Like Broadway, I would say probably is 5% of the ads, if that.
Yep,
Like you get all the watches and the hotels and coffee, right? Like everything um is so immersive. But like to
yeah,
actually see the marquees displayed like that, that's what I love about the show, is it really is the Broadway's biggest promoter is Smash.
it is. And that's what I love about it because I think it was either in this or the first episode where we also see the billboard of Wicked as well, which coincidentally celebrating its 20th anniversary by the time this episode comes out. So
Yeah, and I can plug too that I'm organizing group tickets, more information to come
yes.
for St. Patrick's, all things March.
So
So to give
excited
me
for
enough
that.
time too, but I will let everyone know how they can become part of the Ivory Tower Boiler Room Wicked excursion in March. And I'm even trying for an Emerald City VIP experience. So more
Oh,
on that to
yes.
come.
Sign me up for that,
Yeah, so
please.
start getting your hands on Gregory Maguire's books, because that will be the book club choice. But okay, I know, but to think that Wicked is in its 20th anniversary, I
Can
saw it.
you believe?
Yeah, I saw it in 2004. No, or three. No, 2004, definitely. Because Kristen Chenoweth had left, but Adina Menzel was still in it. Um, so I still remember that. I think it was Jennifer Lara Thompson. She was Glinda. Um,
I saw it with Kristen and Adina. There's a
oh,
story
that's
behind
so
it, which I'll tell you in
exciting.
person
Okay.
because
Yeah, we'll have to have like a Wicked. We'll definitely do a special Wicked episode to prepare for the um excursion to
oh
Broadway.
yes.
But oh, I did find the song that sung is
What song is it?
it is no, this isn't right. Is it Calm? No. There
The
is
Call
Call
Me
Me. It is Call Me, right?
by
Yes. By Blondie.
Blondie.
Okay, so
Okay,
it's not
so it
something
was
from
a
the
pop. See,
2000s.
but I don't know why, but it's so oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it wasn't the sped up like 80s version. It was very mellow.
Oh,
You're right. Almost like
well,
folksy. Um
see, that's what
okay, so not a current hit, but they did a rendition of it. Oh, and then um Ivy sings Crazy Dreams by Carrie Underwood. Okay, that's a product of the
oh
2011.
boy.
Um so okay. Um
He sings in a very Broadway-esque type of way.
yeah,
Ivy
yeah.
does at the end of the show.
She does. Okay, so bring us to what's next on your roster, Christian.
Well, well, after that, I believe we get all these callbacks where we're back in the callback section. We get some more time with Karen and her wanting to be, I guess, perfect in a way, but she also doesn't want to be felt like the odd girl out when these callbacks auditions are happening. And on top of that, she's also dealing with her boyfriend who
Mhm.
needs her at a specific time and she wasn't able to get there because as we all know, whenever you're doing a Broadway production, things don't go as planned. They always either you end up leaving later than planned. And sometimes some people get a little frustrated. But it's weird because at the end of that, it's like they just kiss and make up. I'm like, okay, so this is a show where that happens. So
Well, and I also love how Marilyn's biography continues. Like we saw that building in the
I
first
wonder which one
episode.
Ivy was reading because I'm like, oh, I don't know which one that was because I
Yeah,
have
I'll have to ask
two.
Elizabeth Winder because it was Ivy's reading a Marilyn Monroe biography that focuses on
Mhm.
Arthur Miller and
Yes,
Kazan, which I think Kazan was a
Elia Kazan.
Elia Kazan was a in the Hollywood industry. I know that,
Yep,
but was a
yep. He
director?
directed. Yep, he directed a Rebel Without a Cause.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's a later biography because
Yes.
Arthur Miller is her last husband who then
Yep.
she divorces. But
Mhm.
yeah, Rebel Without a Cause is like her claim to fame. Like everyone says you need to see that movie for she uses the actor's method in Rebel Without a Cause because it's after
Yes.
her time, Marilyn's time in Manhattan, which is Elizabeth Winder's book, Marilyn in
Yes.
Manhattan, is all about the actor's studio and the whole psychological method of actor's method and using types of Freudian psychoanalysis to get to that characterization. So they say that Marilyn really um, feels her way through Rebel Without a Cause from the actor's method. Okay. So uh
But
yeah, I
we're
found
also
yeah,
plumped into a meeting with all the producers and the director and Angelica Houston, of course. And
yeah.
then we um we see little sneaky what was his name again?
Oh, Ellis.
Ellis, yep.
Ellis,
And
the
even Angelica
assistant.
Houston's assistant, he's like, what are you doing? Like you're
Yeah.
getting called
Yeah.
out. That's what you're
Well, and I
doing.
think even before that, I liked this moment where Tom and Julia talk about the structure of the musical because I thought it
Oh
was a
my
really
God.
meta moment, and I like highlighted structure of the musical. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is I love how Marilyn's life is matching what Karen and Ivy are going through because,
Yep.
like, if you notice this creative team and screenwriting team was so careful to make sure that whatever Karen and Ivy are facing has some kind of basis in Marilyn's own dilemmas. So, like
Yes.
Karen needing to put herself front and center for this callback, then disappoints her boyfriend
Yep.
who should be cheering her on, but he wants her to be there. So she kind of has to play this domestic role, like which Marilyn had to
Uh-huh.
continue to try to please the men around her.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to Ivy and the casting couch, which is another
Ah,
unfortunate aspect that
or
Marilyn
is
had
it
to
the
deal with.
casting bed?
Yeah, well, the casting couch is the bed, I think. It's a symbol for us, Christian, of the
Yes.
wolves of Hollywood. These are
Yes.
the wolves. Okay. So but I like how they like play around with where Let Me Be Your Star will be, because that is such a real process in the musical
Yep.
industry of where does the music fit? And then I like Julia's rationale for, well, Let Me Be Your Star. We don't have to go through chronology. Like it was kind of what we said in the pilot.
Mhm.
It's in media race. It's in the middle of things. It's um, her reflecting on what's going to happen in her life. So I like that whole behind the scenes
And I
thinking of
loved the
having
staging of that in their mind, like what they were thinking of. It kind of
mm,
reminded me the way that they're all the other, I guess, I guess you would say like other women, or would you say like other aspects of Marilyn are in like tiny little boxes. And it kind of
mhm.
reminded me of Barbie in a way
Yeah.
for
It
myself.
actually kind of looks like the Hairspray set. I don't know if you've ever seen
Oh,
Hairspray, but they like had all these boxes in uh what was that song? Without Love. Um which Mark Shaman, did the
yes.
and Scott Whitman did the music and lyrics for. But also it kind of looks like the telephone hour from Bye Bye Birdie. But
Ooh.
so no, I think you're right. I think it's well, at first I think it's women's um frustration with Marilyn, like how she gets portrayed, um, like kind of anonymous women jeering Marilyn and like putting her
Mhm.
down for um her authentic self. But then I think you're
Yeah.
right. It's almost as if every woman is a different critique within Marilyn's psyche. And I
Yep.
like how Ivy and Karen switch in that song, and that rendition of Let Me Be Your Star is a
Oh,
much more psychologically nuanced one than the one at the end of episode 1.
yes. There's lots of
Yeah.
belts in this one.
Hmm.
Lots of belts. Yep, they're going
Yeah.
for it.
Let me see. Oh, yeah, and there's like the women say your mother left you. Like they start to put Marilyn down
Yep.
based on um how women have failed her in her life. Like it
Hmm.
wasn't really I don't remember anything about the men in her life. It was kind of how women have uh set her up, or like views she has about motherhood or womanhood, or and I thought that was an interesting angle because her mom, was in a mental institution, and there's like this whole history behind her mom throwing her off to neighbors and kind of being absent because of her mental health. Um, so yeah, I think it's building us up for when Bernadette Peters comes to be her mom.
Oh boy. We're waiting for that. We're waiting for that.
I know, I know. Okay, so yeah, I love that moment though. Oh, and Ellis, I know, is such a well, remember, this is what you warned us about, Christian. Ellis tries to claim that he um
And he says it again. He says
says,
it again. He
"Oh,
says
this I love seeing my idea put into motion." He says as he sees all
like,
the outline of the music numbers.
yep. It's
It's
like,
like not
dude,
quite, but
not
Julia's ready.
really.
Like Julia's ready to um
To hammer him. And I love
put a
it.
legal have a legal team seek him out.
Uh-huh.
But she knows. Tom though is very I think he's not thinking with his mind. He's
No,
thinking with a male organ.
one specific male organ. But
Mm,
but if we could round back on Julia, she's also dealing with a lot this episode as well. Like she's having meetings with the adoption agency and with the um. There's also a meeting that she wants to go to for adoptive parents that are in the process of adopting.
yeah, I mean,
And her
I did
husband doesn't
find
seem so keen on that aspect.
I did really like the kind of balancing the difficulties of adoption with the creative process. Like again, she's
Mhm.
trying to balance her relationship with her work life. Um and she's committed to this adoption process. Um and her husband kind of has to meet her halfway. And like literally, I like when he comes and joins her when she's reading the letter to her daughter and like or potential adopted daughter in China. I have to say the only thing I found odd about this storyline is that the son is very angry, and it kind of came out of nowhere for me. I'm like, why is the
Oh,
son
I see.
so he's like, you told me I'd have a sibling. I'm like, what?
I mean, if you look at it from his perspective, and we're gonna go deep for a minute, but
Yeah.
if you've been a single kid your whole life and your parents want to have another child, it makes you feel as if you're expecting a Christmas present that's never coming, or
Yeah.
that's on it's or that it's on delay. And I think that's kind of what uh he was feeling at the time. And by the way, their patio looks gorgeous. I don't know who owns that patio, but it's like I don't know how rich they are, but it's like damn, they must be really rich if they can get that beautiful patio. It's like wow, I want that.
Gosh. No, no, you're right. But no, I can see that perspective. I mean, I'm an only child, and I um have enjoyed being an only child. Um but my parents have always like said it would be nice if I had siblings. Like, did I miss out on anything? And I'm like, no, like I loved my childhood, and I don't know, for me it's not about like I understand why he might be upset. I guess like I just don't we don't really know a lot about the son, so I thought like his um annoyance um came out of left field, like because I didn't really
Yeah.
we don't know the backstory that much.
Hmm.
But yeah, like uh I didn't say I was going to agree with every storyline, Christian. Um, but
You don't
okay.
have to.
No, I know, I know. So, oh, what did you think of Karen's dance rehearsal?
Oh, that you noticed that? I noticed again that one of the dancers was looking at the choreographer's ass. I was like, damn, okay, they're really going for it. But that whole let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again. It just took me back to rehearsals. And actually, I wanted to ask you if you've had any callback stories,
Oh
if you
yeah.
want to share them, because I was thinking about it last night. I was like, damn, I've only had two callbacks in musical theater for myself.
Yeah,
What were
callbacks are
yours?
stressful.
They were.
I well, the one that comes to my mind is uh, where I was trying out for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory,
Oh
and
boy.
um, I got a callback,
Mhm.
but I do have to admit it was at an age like I was in high school, so like I was kind of too old to be the children, and I was too young to be a parent. So I do the callback. They're like, "We like you. Like you. This is great." I think this was right after I had done with Renee Lisiaga. I had done Smokey Joe's Cafe. I think so, but so then I just started to do a lot of different auditions for regional theater.
Mhm.
And um, they're like, okay, we like you, but we're going to create a part for you. And I'm like, oh, what's the part? And they were like, Veruca Salt's backup dancer. I'm sorry. No part is,
No.
no part, like, no small part is too small. Like, you will hear that all the time. Um, but that was not the right part for me. Um, so I had to like gracefully back out of it, but sometimes, you have to listen and appreciate, but I always say you don't have to like always if it's not right for you, back out at the beginning and don't go through the whole rehearsal process. Like that's not ethical. Like if this doesn't speak to you, the director does not want you to go through with something that you're going to not be invested in. But okay. Well, and then I had like the a callback story where I this is when I went to do All Shook Up. But at this time, it was a general callback. So like you had to do a this is actually when Married to Pippi and I like reconnected again. This was
Oh
during high school.
wow.
Because she was doing a callback too. And like I was like, oh, Mary. Like I remember like us during main stage and like we went out for coffee during like we had a break during the callbacks. It was a long I'll have to ask Mary, but I think it was like 5 hours. I don't know. It felt long. Um, because we
Five.
all had to do like we had to do a general callback. So it was like their whole summer season. You could be picked for any musical. It was like High School Musical, All Shook Up. Maybe there was another one. You didn't know what parts you were auditioning for. That made me nervous. And then we all had to do the general dance call. So like everyone is, learning it at the same time. Then everyone goes into small groups and has to perform in front of the you know, uh creative and yeah, creative team. I knew the piano player because it was my vocal coach. He actually was the one who told me about the callback. Um,
Oh,
so like the singing audition, I felt comfortable with. The dancing, I enjoy dancing, but like that always took me a little longer to learn the combination.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, so then I think what happened is we all like went on a break and then came back from the break and they said who made it to the next round. And then people like a la chorus line had to leave if they didn't make it to the next round. So then I
Oh
made it, so I stayed. And then like there was another like 2 hours of callbacks. And then I
my.
think finally I found out what show I was going to be on a week after they told me I'd be in All Shook Up and I was in the ensemble and I was like, okay. And then they're like, and this is our first day of rehearsals. I'm like, okay. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. But it felt very competitive. That's what I mean by nerve-wracking. Um
Yep.
so like it was kind of like the Karen and Ivy situation where
Mhm.
like Ivy's sitting outside the rehearsal room and she like has her friend Spy, not Spy, but her friend is like one of the ensemble dancers with Karen, and Ivy's like, "Oh, how did she do?" And he's like, not good. Remember? It was
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I definitely feel like I'm supposed to not like Ivy in this episode.
Hmm. I mean, she does come off as those prima donna leading ladies that we all see in high school. And it's kind of like she gives off that kind of airy vibe about her in this episode where it's like, okay, I need to know everything you know about Karen Cartwright.
Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Rimby, the host and director of the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. I hope you're enjoying what you're watching on the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. So to watch the rest of the episode, head to our Patreon. It is patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. That's Ivory Tower Boiler Room. And you can watch the rest of the episode on our $5 a month membership called ITBR Student, or join the ITBR Professor membership. It's only $10 a month. You get access to all of our videos. You get access to both of our book clubs, the Ivory Tower Boiler Room and the True Crime and Academia book club. Plus, you unlock all of our other episodes. So at the ITBR Student, you only get access to our weekly interviews and the True Crime and Academia episodes. For $10 a month, you get access to our ITBR Rewatches, our Teaches series, and True Crime and Academia Rewatches and Teaches series, plus the book clubs. Okay, can't wait to see you all on Patreon. And just a reminder, I also offer consultation services. It is $30 for your initial consultation. You get a 1 hour private Zoom with me, and I will help you whether you want to create your own podcast and or media brand, you want to navigate academia as an undergrad or grad student, you need help with technology as it relates to teaching or media. Do you want to expand your social media presence as an artist, writer, podcaster, or academic, or even crafting your public humanities identity? I will help you with my consultation services. You can also find that on Patreon as well. Okay. Thank you all for watching and for supporting the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. Bye.